Hey, what's going on YouTube? Storm here with another deck profile today, talking about Heraldic Beasts, but with some of the new World Superstar cards that are coming out on as of this week. So I wanted to go ahead and do another deck profile of a deck that's getting some new support cards. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get to it. So first, obviously, if any Heraldic Beast player runs triple copies of Heraldic Beast Leo, it's basically just a Stratos whenever it's sent to graveyard. It's only once per turn and it can't add itself, the typical restrictions. It's also a 2000 when it's normal summon, but it dies if it's in the end phase. But you're really never going to normal summon this card unless you're really in a pinch. Next, 3 copies of Heraldic Beast Aberconway. Basically, this card is just like you can banish it from the graveyard to add a target back to your hand. So it's basically just more recyclable engine, so you can get your stuff that's in your grave back in your hand. Next, this is one of the new support cards. I run 3 copies of Heraldic Beast. I don't know how to say the name. I'll try though. Fisbania. Yeah, I can't say the name. But anyway, basically this is you can special summon this from your hand by discarding 1 Heraldic Beast monster. Normally that's going to be Leo. But I also really like about this card is it's also a normal summonable and also special summonable out to Winda. So this deck is one of those rogue decks, like since it's a rank 4 spam deck, so it has a lot of those type of decks have a lot of issues dealing with Winda. So I like that this gives the deck 2 things. 1, it's easier rank 4 plays, but 2, it's an instant card you can just normal summon and pitch a Heraldic monster and get over Winda. It's one of the things I really like about this new card. Next, 2 copies Heraldic Beast Twin Eagle. This card is mostly you're going to be dumping this to graveyard. This card is kind of cool because you can banish it from your graveyard and add 2 Exceed materials to an XYZ on the field. So you can target 2. They both had to be Heraldic Beast monster, of course. So the cool thing about this is that say you have something like 101 sitting on the field and it's already exhausted all its materials. Twin Eagle can just allow you to abuse the effect over again. So it's quite an interesting card, and although I don't really think it's necessary at more than 2. Next, 3 copies of Heraldic Beast Unicorn. This basically is one of the cards that just causes a lot of the loops with the deck, especially with the new Exceed monster. Basically, what this card does is you can banish it and special summon 1 Psychic type XYZ monster from your graveyard. And typically, that's going to be number 18 or Heraldic Crest of Horror. And I love this card because it allows you to overuse the number 18's effect over and over again. So I really like that. Next, 2 copies of Goblinberg and 2 copies of Photon Thrasher. Basically, these cards are here for easier rank 4 plays. I like them, and also you'll notice I do not run Rhoda because with the new support cards, there's so much like graveyard dumping and deck thinning. You'll find that searching these is not even entirely necessary because there's just the new number 18 just adds so much ridiculous deck thinning. And then that's all the monster lineup for the spells. 2 copies of Rank Up Magic Variance Force. I find that the Rank Up variant is by far the best Heraldic variant because having access to particularly Chaos 69, but also gives you access to Ragna Infinity, Chaos 101. I feel that this card of the 2 variants, which is just the normal Heraldic and the Rank Up variant, the Rank Up variant has a bit more versatile plays. And then for the other spells, I run 1 Foolish Burial to dump. Obviously, we want to dump Leo to the graveyard. 1 Regeki, clearing boards, and then 2 copies of MST. Even though the floodgates aren't running around as much, and in decks like this that are pretty rogue, I like to run MSTs just in case those floodgates hit the field. Plus, there's still cards like Mistake and stuff like that this deck kind of needs its searches, so that's why it's in here. 2 Forbidden Lances. This is mostly to make sure like my normal summonable plays go off, because this deck has a lot of problems that other deck XYZ spam decks have, which is that they lose to a lot of back row cards such as Compulse and stuff like that. So this is basically just to make sure your plays go through. And then these are the 2 just keep your this is basically like a monster reborn for Heraldics, and it's called. And then 2 copies of Advanced Heraldry Art. This is basically just you use this card and you can special summon 2 Heraldics in your graveyard, then Exceed on top of them. Basically, this is just a great card because you can top deck it and instantly make a rank 4. So it's one of the reasons I really like it. Then for the all the spells, for the trap cards, Triple Fiendish Chain. Fiendish Chain is just at its best right now. I've always really liked the card, but now in a format with tons of, especially with cards like Vanity's gone and stuff, Fiendish is just getting quite a bit better. Then 1 copy of Emptiness. You know it's at 1. You might as well run it. And then 2 copies of Mirror Force, because I feel that Mirror Force is really good right now, especially against Necros. You can always side them out against matchups they're not really that good against. 1 Bottomless for like those annoying Pendulum decks and decks that like to spam the board. 1 Compulse, because the reason I run Compulse in here is because Winda is a card this deck just does not even want to see hit the field. So Compulse is just a card that's basically like, I don't want to deal with Winda, and there's a lot of cards that Compulse can... Compulse is a double use card. It can help you bounce around back row as well. 2 copies of Dimensional Prison, because I still feel Deep Prison is a good card. There's certain cards you want to banish rather than you're forcing your opponent's entire board. Now I'm going to be moving on to the extra deck. So next, this is the other new support card. In TCG, it's going to be called number 18, Heraldic, I forget the name, top of my head. Heraldic Patriarch, there we go. So basically, this card, the first effect is if your opponent has if there's 2 monsters on the field that have the same name, you can detach material and destroy all other monsters with the same name. It also prevents your opponent from making monsters, using stuff. Your opponent can't summon monsters with the same name. So that's a pretty decent effect. However, the main effect that, well, most Heraldic players care about is whenever this card is sent to the graveyard, you can dump 2 Heraldic monsters from your deck to the graveyard. So whenever this thing hits graveyard, it's a double Foolish Burial. And if you have to think about that, Foolish Burial has been at 1 for pretty much since I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And the fact that this deck now has a double Foolish Burial, it's pretty incredible. 1 copy of number 8. Basically, I don't think you'll always make this card, but basically what it does is it can copy an XYZ's monster and get its effect for name, and then its attack becomes 0 and its effects are negated. So basically, if your opponent is running an annoying XYZ that has some kind of a protection effect, you can make this, and it's kind of has some interesting interaction with stuff like 101, where like you can put 101's attack to 0 and then take it. So it's a pretty interesting card. Then 1 copy of numbers Chaos 69. I like this card because you can overlay it on top of with rank up with basically any of your Heraldic Exceed monsters, and it's a 4K beater that you can loop back to the field, so that's why it's in here. 1 copy of 101 because this is one of the few decks you can actually rank up to its Chaos form. Plus 101's still pretty decent at dealing with some cards. Then 1 copy of Chaos 101 because this is the rank up variant. I felt that it was kind of necessary. If I'm going to run the rank up card, might as well run more targets for it. Then 1 Castel for dealing with annoying floodgates and monsters that we don't want to 101. And then 1 copy of Ragnar Zero in its Chaos form. I feel that Ragnar Zero is, with Fire Fist getting their support back and a lot of other, and just especially with 3 Spirit, there's so many things that I feel that Ragnar Zero is good against. Plus Ragnar Infinity is a pretty decent card as well. The fact that it can pop the card and then banish it is pretty nice. And then 1 copy of Gaga Cowboy for stealing games. 1 copy of Laval Chain for dumping for times where you can't make number 8. You don't want to make number 18, but you want to get Leo in the graveyard to set up some loops. 1 Dweller because graveyard effects are still dominant right now, and there's a lot of decks right now graveyard dependent. Then 2 copies of Daigusto Emerald because when you first start playing Heraldics with a new support, one of the first things you'll notice is that you roll through a lot of resources with this deck. Like, a lot of stuff ends up in the graveyard. So, like, I felt that honestly running 2 copies was the most optimal. I think though when Jar of Avarice releases, one of these might come out and then I'll run a couple copies of Jar of Avarice. But I feel like this is one of those decks. Jar of Avarice is going to help out quite a bit. So anyway, guys, I'd like to thank y'all for watching this video today. I really appreciate it when people watch my videos. Tune in on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Also, follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Aurastorm43 if you'd like to watch me try not to get OTK'd on Yu-Gi-Oh. And also, if you like what you saw from this video, please subscribe. This is Aurastorm signing out.